What is up, everybody? We'll get going here in just a few moments. Good to see you. All righty, let's get going here. All righty, everybody. Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos, coming to you live from Phoenix, Arizona. Today, we will be discussing the Delphi murders, the case of Abby and Libby out of Delphi. But I think today we're going to spend more time trying to poke holes in the case against Richard Allen. Welcome in, MF, Witchy Widow, Hiawatha. What's up, Mustang? Can you guys hear me okay? I need to get a new mic. Good to see you, Josh. Shout out to Farmer. Thank you for that super sticker. Shout out to the mods, all my members, and everybody who's been donating to the drone fund. We had another donation this morning. Shout out to Melinda K. Thank you for that. Good to see you, Mustang, Misty, Christine, GP. What's up? Pipers, what's up with you? Jari, always good to see you. V. Marie. Just went out and hit the like button. Thank you. If you guys could follow suit. Don't be a scrub. D, what's up? Thank you for that feedback. I appreciate you. Mar, good to see you guys. So today we're going to spend most of the time looking at the PCA, discussing what you all know, all the facts that we do know and all the facts that we're not sure about. And we're going to poke holes. We're going to see if we can. We're going to see if we can or if we can't. Or if people are just grasping for straws. Motive, what's up? Hope you have a good 4th. Yeah, I'm excited for this 4th of July. We're going to go get some fireworks here in a little bit. So I am stoked. Audrey, welcome. That can't exist. That's like a time traveler going back in time and occupying the same space and time as himself. You'll just explode. So you're good. Once you hit that thumbs up, you're not a scrub. Thank you, V. TJ, welcome in. Okay, guys, how do you feel about the probable cause affidavit and the case against Richard Allen? And I think I might have some notes laying around here. Oh, yeah, here we go. So the way I was kind of thinking is if everything that they put in the probable cause affidavit is accurate, then I think it's solid. I was talking with Brad from Outside of the Grid earlier about the power of the unspent bullet. You can't argue that away at all. It's just not possible. Well, at least you can't argue away the strength of that argument in court. Good to see you, Cindy. Jamie, what's up? Kristen. Is it the flux capacitor? No, the flux capacitor. Yeah, that's what it's called. I think I've seen that. That's funny. Sherry, depends on what evidence they actually have. Let's try to focus on just what's kind of listed in the probable cause affidavit. Well, we'll assume that that's what they're bringing into that trial. And also, this kind of goes back to the older question, or an answer to the old question is, why doesn't Richard Allen want to go to trial, or why won't he? And I think we'll find that answer in today's live stream. I think the more we try to poke holes, the more solid the case becomes against him. And if you disagree, let me hear why. Flux capacitor was glitched. Oh, that's messed up. I think somebody said that one time. I think I was like on a plane and there was a delay, and they used that as an excuse, like, oh, they're just taking a second look at the flux capacitor. And I kind of chuckled. Unless we almost went back in time. You never know. All right. Let me share my screen with you guys. Okay, this version of the probable cause affidavit has everything. It has his confession, right? Another reason he doesn't want to go have any part of a trial. He doesn't want to take this to trial. How's he going to explain the confessions away? So we can poke holes in that too. Or the sketches. What about the sketches? Those will be easy to poke holes in. The young guy versus the old guy. The witnesses. Muddy and bloody guy. Multiple people on the trails. Different witness recollections. TJ, keep coming back to it. Richard Allen said he saw 3 girls and his trail timeline is noon 1:30. Then who are the girls he saw? Because it wasn't the girls he described. Who described BG? I don't quite understand what you mean, TJ. Let me go to the tip narrative. Did I pass it? Oh, here it is. Okay, investigators reviewing prior tips encountered a tip narrative from an officer who interviewed Richard M. Allen in 2017. The narrative stated, Mr. Allen was on the trail between 1330 and 1530. He parked at the old Farm Bureau building and walked to the new Freedom Bridge. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw 3 females, right? And I think there may have been 4, but one of them was very young, so he may not have even seen her. He noted one was taller. There was one that was taller and had brown or black hair. And that's the one you can see actually in the photo. And I believe that's the older sister of the young girl that was probably overlooked by Richard in his recollection. He did not remember description, nor did he speak with them. So he didn't even give them a description. Only that one was taller. So, I mean, that matches, right? The girl said we left the Freedom Bridge around, I think it was like 12:30, 12:40 something. Then they walked all the way to the last bench, took a photograph, and it was time stamped at 1:26. And they're saying it was right after they took that photo, they began to walk towards the Freedom Bridge and ran into the bridge guy. The guy that they saw in Abby's video, or Libby's video, is the guy they saw. Did they give different descriptions? Yeah. One said he was all in black. One said this. One said he was tall. One said, came up to about his shoulder. Blah, 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 whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as they said the guy we saw is the guy in Libby's video. Okay. Now, how do you prove that the guy in Libby's video is Richard Allen? Because of his unspent bullet. That's it. And his lack of an alibi, right? If he's innocent, he would have an alibi. Even if it's just, I was at home. I was at home alone. I was taking a nap. That's still an alibi. I haven't heard anything. Yes, it's all there. Why doesn't he plea? I don't know. There's nothing that I can find why I believe he's going to plea. I mean, you guys can start the hashtag any day now if you want to. Because I'm telling you, any day now, that will be the breaking news in the case. And we will cover it, and I won't even say I told you so. I won't even say it. But you guys will know that I'm thinking it. And his defense team mentions him being out of there by 1:30. Or something along the lines like they asked him, were you there between 1:30 and 3:30? And he said, yeah. But really, it was only like 1:35. So, yeah, it was only 5 minutes into that window. Okay, that's fine. I get that. So where were you? If you left at 1:35, where'd you go? Because maybe the girls did see him. Maybe he saw the girls, but he was leaving and they were just confused by it. Au revoir, Delulu Bishus. Do you keep changing your name? I like that one. That's a fun word. Unless someone had Doolin's interview, in which case the rest of the team needs that back because they threw it away. Well, what about them recording over like Brad Holder's interviews? I think the part everybody fails to mention is that they probably recorded over a lot of interviews that they didn't care about, right? I don't agree with it, but I'm just saying nobody wants to mention any of the other ones. And I'm sure there's a list. What's up, Silas? Yeah, varying descriptions is common. Remember, you're not supposed to remember somebody. I mean, how exhausting would that be if you actually could remember everybody that you passed by throughout the day? I mean, even if you made an effort, you couldn't do it. Unless you have like a photographic memory. Yeah, he's like, I saw the girls. This is the way it reads to me. Yeah, I was there. Yeah, so what? I was there around that time. Saw them. They saw me. No big deal. But I did not commit the murders. And the part that I just don't understand is how Dan Doolin can interview this guy on I think it was either the 14th or early the 15th. They released the photos to media on the 16th. Why is Dan Doolin not saying, well, I spoke to Richard Whiteman or whatever mistake it was that they made? Why weren't they looking for him? I mean, that's a good hole right there. I think we can start there. On the 16th, they were blasting that image. They said, we have 2 images and we're not telling you where they came from. Right then and there, they knew their suspect was a white male. Okay, you just spoke to Richard Allen or Richard Whiteman, whatever the hell you called him or listed him under. Why aren't you telling the rest of your team, guys, we need to go look at this Mr. Whiteman? He said he was there at that time and he's a white male. How does that not happen? Yeah, and I don't even care if it's him just sitting at home or I was driving around. Because once they have his alibi, then they can go look at his cell phone records and find ways of verifying that. What's up, Kim Young? Yeah, it states that in the probable cause affidavit, Farmer. You're right. It says he's responsible for kidnapping that led to the murder, not kidnapping and murder. Why is that? Is that because all they can really prove is that he's the bridge guy and they know that the bridge guy is the one who led them down the hill and they only know half of the story? And they themselves don't believe he committed the actual physical act Or can they charge him with that, with what they can prove, and then later on they can bring other charges, maybe? Yep, Jari, any day now. Mustang says plea deal. He told conservation officer he was there. I believe he talked to him at the drugstore outside. No, it was at a grocery store. They have a little grocery store there in town, and he met there. We're going to hear a lot of evidence if it goes to trial. We haven't heard what Alan's alibi is. Yeah, why not? I mean, everything else has been leaked. Crime scene photos were leaked. The fact that he's been on the trails, he frequented the trails, that's been leaked. Everything's been leaked. Where the hell's his alibi? I mean, we know more about Brad Holder's alibi than we do Richard Allen's. It's very strange. Yes, Kristen. Richard Allen. Didn't Richard Allen say he was watching the stocks on his phone? Well, I think he flip-flopped on that. There's got to be a way to find out, right? So if he's using his phone, it should be pinging right there on the trail. So if they're doing the geofencing, they know where he is. I noticed. I was like, you're a member, but you changed your name. Sherry Wilson, they claim they filed a written report and forgot about it. Well, I don't know. It's just very suspicious. Either they're not telling us the truth about what happened, or I think that there's evidence of, I don't know, is it malfeasance? Is that the word? I don't think I'm using that properly. But I don't know. It doesn't look good for Dan Doolin. For him not to, for that not to register just 2 days after or 1 day after interviewing Richard Allen, that's hard to believe. But it's not just that. You have the misfiling and the kind of the switching of information. It's almost as if it was hidden. But at the same time, if you're going to hide something like that, why just not do the interview? Because if you don't do it under your control, somebody else will do it, and it could spiral out of control. I mean, think about it. The tip apparently is the reason why it took 6 years. They lost that tip. At least that's the story that was fed to the public. Right? How'd you lose that tip? Dan Doolin wasn't just some beat cop. Like he was running his own crew out there, his own jurisdiction. Stock ticker. Good to see it. Anna, good to see you. Watching stock ticker. Guess he was watching that when he wasn't watching fish. Yeah, so if he's got his phone and it's activated, right? And they're pulling the geofencing. I mean, the warrant for the geofencing has to cover the trail, right? They trashed evidence. What evidence was trashed? Oh, are you talking about in another case? Yeah, as far as I know, the evidence is intact. Holman even mentioned that the chain of custody is great with the unspent bullet and that everything is solid around that. And what I told Brad earlier was, well, we agreed that that's most likely the one piece that Doug Carter's been talking about, right? We're just one piece away. One piece to the puzzle. Rain Man. Definitely 248 toothpicks. Definitely. Because they considered him a witness. I don't know. I mean, they don't talk about any other white male being anywhere near the trails, within that window there. What other white male was there between 145 and 205? Richard Allen. He's the only one. 15, 20 minutes later, yeah. 15, 20 minutes prior, yes. But I'm talking that short window from when the girls were dropped off to when they're approached on the bridge. All right, you guys hold tight. I'm going to be right back. Sorry about that. Anna says, I think there is a twist in the story that no one fully knows yet. That's why stuff doesn't add up and no plea agreement, etc. Something big is missing. Well, I think there will be a plea agreement. He's still running around the field. He's not done yet, but we're close. So I think there will be a plea. And also, the piece that's missing, I think, is going to be some kind of a relationship with one of the victims that we don't quite know about. Very short list. I think they have more evidence. They charged with murders, so I think they have a lot we don't know. I don't think so. Let's say that they don't. Let's not assume that. But one thing about what you're saying is true. If they do have more, you're definitely not going to hear about it from the leakers. Old Baldwin and Rosie over there. Start calling them Grease Lightning. Very slick. Carter's impassioned speech about what will your family think, etc. sounds like it was aimed at a local person, perhaps Richard Allen. Yeah, I mean, did that information come from the behavioral folks at the FBI? Part of the profile, he's most likely a family man, hence the words guys, you know? Well, I guess the point I was getting at with the Dan Doolin stuff was how do you hide that? You think there's a third option that Richard Allen has always been their main suspect, but they knew that he was not the killer. And the only reason that they arrested him was that they were being forced to. The fact that the 40 caliber unspent casing that had been leaked just weeks prior to his arrest. Don't forget about that. I mean, it was leaked long ago, but it was only recently leaked to the public, like a month prior to his arrest. That was it made public that law enforcement had a unspent shell casing, a 40 caliber at that. So I saw the live stream come out, and then it may have even been taken down. So maybe somebody reached out to them and was like, "Hey, could you please take that down?" But yeah, shortly after that, they're arresting Richard Allen. And there's another case that Holman is heading up where he knows all of the players. He knows who killed this gentleman. He has a witness who's seen the body wrapped up with his main suspects. They just don't have a body. So they don't say anything publicly about them knowing these killers. They don't say anything about the case. Who's to say they weren't doing that very thing with Richard Allen? They let Keegan Klein go free for 3 years, and they made this similar excuse. Like, oh, something went wrong with the paperwork. Bullshit. That is bullshit. You're telling me you have all these victims and not one of the family members made a phone call. Like, hey, what's going on with that Anthony Schatz? You know, the guy who was victimizing my daughter, sextorting her. You think they're just going to be quiet about it? No, they let him go for a reason. The FBI was tracking his ass. And when he came back and they arrested him, they put down some more pressure and they said, look, dude, we're going public with the Anthony Schatz stuff. He said, go ahead. Next day, he's getting a call from somebody in Texas like, dude, you're all over the news. V Marie, what's up with the AutoZone? Well, in the leaked um, discovery, somewhere in that list, the index list, they talk about an AutoZone. And one of my sources told me that the gentleman that works at the AutoZone is a friend of Richard Allen's daughter and her husband. So what I'm thinking is it's possible that maybe there was a drunken exchange maybe between the new husband and possibly Richard Allen. You know, late night outside having some beers, or maybe he just overheard something. Shit, maybe he has nightmares or something. But I don't know. I think there's a good chance that Richard Allen's new son-in-law and daughter snitched on him. I really wouldn't use the word snitched. I think that they came forward. But then again, I think she would be listed as a witness. So male shorter than 5'6", Monday off, 40s, a local. Yeah, he fits the profile. You know, it's not like Richard Allen, some random guy. He frequented those trails. Remember, Doug Carter asked, why Delphi? You know, why the Monon High Bridge? Well, that's why, because your killer frequented the Monon High Bridge Trail. It was part of his fantasy, maybe. Could have even have met the girls there prior to that. We don't know. Maybe that was a meeting place for them. For all we know, they met Richard Allen there prior to that occasion. And he didn't want that coming out. Kim Young, I'm beginning to think that the government knows there's more satanic cults in this country than we are aware of. I agree with that. Problem is, they're part of most of them. I don't think they want us to know the truth about a lot of them. No. Some cases, they might be responsible. Richard says McClellan later added 2 separate murder charges, which means he feels he can also prove Allen murdered them. I don't think so. I think he just corrected the charges, but they're pretty much the same. He only tweaked what he already had, really. But it's still murder because of the kidnapping. It's not murder. I don't know how they word it, but and you can read it in the probable cause affidavit how they charge it. You know, kidnapping. The wording is he's charged with kidnapping that led to a murder. So that tells me either they can only prove that he's the bridge guy, which resulted in their deaths, or there's others involved. Digital, what's up? I wonder if Dolan's entire narrative about what Richard Allen said has been released. If it continues and Richard Allen tells Dolan where he went after he left the bridge. Yeah, where did he go? And also the guy, well, I can't say for certain. Let me pull up some images. But we know in the radio chatter, they talk about finding a cigarette butt. Richard Allen is a smoker. And it appears that the bridge guy does have a cigarette in his mouth. I mean, we can agree to disagree. Right there. Kind of see it better here. So yeah, he's smoking a cigarette. And then also we know that Richard Allen is a smoker. Guys, remember this photo? So he's got a pack of Marlboros right there. Possibly an Indiana driver's license or something with a barcode, but that looks like it might be his image. This probably says Indiana right here. This is that circular symbol, and then the state of Indiana kind of coming up right here, and then the writing. That's what it looks like to me. See how it's dark right here? On the Indiana driver's license, it's dark, and it says Indiana right here. So I think that's what it is. But most importantly, he's a smoker. So I'm curious as what kind of cigarettes were found. Remember this? Oh, hold on. That sounds crazy. Hold on, guys. I'm going to reset this. It'll be just 1 second. Okay, that should have worked. Can you guys hear that?
Send it. Found an item of interest under the railroad bridge.
So during this radio chatter,
Copy that. Go ahead and describe it to me. Girls' undergarments.
so they find girls' undergarments,
Good copy. Thank you. Stand by.
and he says under the bridge.
Up to 515. Go ahead. It's on their way with evidence back, so just stand by there. They're on their way. They're coming through the water, by the way. There's at least 2 pieces of evidence so far. So you found more? What's the second thing you found? Because I'm only sending one evidence back.
We'll send a few.
I have a cigarette butt in the water that is less than 2 or 3 days old.
Cigarette butt that's in the water that's less than 2 or 3 days old. And also, woman's undergarments, ladies' undergarments under the bridge. So does that mean under the bridge in the water? Or under the bridge kind of once you go down the hill? And then also a cigarette butt. So I always assumed it was in the water. Maybe they found it right down the hill. So did he attempt to assault them there? You know, right down the hill, he may have tried to attack them. Haha, Don. Yes, Don. Let me see. Got an email. Yes, sir. Yep, you did. I didn't get to ship them out today, but I got them all bagged up, and one of the giveaway items prizes is going to the UK. So those will be mailed out tomorrow. And then there's 2 other orders that haven't even been placed. Growing Crazy and Nedra. So when you guys place your orders, you can email me. You can screenshot what you want along with your address, and I'll get it out to you if you're having problems online. But yeah, Don, that's going right out. That'll go out tomorrow. Pretty cool shirt, huh? So we did get some new merch. So if you guys go to thesleuthenintuition.com, probably in a day or two, it'll be up. But yeah, it's pretty cool shirts. Lala, what's up? Let's have one thing going for them. Seldom suffer from depression. They just don't give a fuck. Richard Allen is very unstable for someone who could do this alone. I don't know. I don't think we know enough about the guy. Is that a Coors Light? And what the hell is that? It looks like a bag. Right. What else? What about the sketches? We've talked about this plenty of times. I think this one's easy to. This is one of the holes that's pretty easy to patch up, in my opinion. Same day. Photo was taken in the same day. Richard Allen on the left, Richard Allen on the right. But if you were just to walk by, let's say you walked into the bar and you walked past this gentleman here. You know, you went into the restroom, and on your way out of the restroom, you walked past this guy. Same person, same day. Okay, what about the fact that Richard Allen was seen by Betsy Blair with no head covering and no face covering? Well, I think the easiest answer, right? He was smoking a cigarette. They found a cigarette. He smokes cigarettes, and it appears that the bridge guy is smoking a cigarette. How are you going to smoke a cigarette when you got your face covered? That's the way I look at that. Okay, well, what about his head covering? Well, what kind of head covering is he wearing here? And remember, you're not supposed to remember what the hell this guy's wearing, what he's doing, what he looks like, how tall he is. Law enforcement is just hoping that you can recall anything, but you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to get it right. But there's some cases where you have the victim and then you have somebody standing nearby who may have had a better look, or one of the witnesses was distracted by the gun or by something and they didn't get a good look at the face. But the other witnesses, they did. David Bodkins says a river runs away from the bridge, running west towards Delphi. Did start assault there. They said they were both totally unclothed at one point. I don't remember them saying that. They don't say they were both unclothed because not much blood on them. That might be in the Franks memo. It's not in the probable cause affidavit. Richard Dobson, as of the moment, there are 2 felony murder charges and 2 murder 1 murder charges. Yeah, that's how it works in Indiana. If you do something that leads to a murder, you're charged with murder. That's what he's charged with, kidnapping that led to a murder. Yep. And why didn't Richard Allen come forward about his vehicle being parked at the CPS building? Right? Because he would have said, "Oh, well, I already told the cops everything." I guarantee you they didn't talk about that. So an innocent man would have been like, well, I better go talk to them because that was me. I don't want them wasting their time. But a guilty man would say, oh, shit, they're getting close. They're going to find out that is me. Sees through. How clearly can you describe someone from 50 feet away? Yeah, that's a good point, too. And sometimes you don't even remember what you saw. You just remember what you thought about what you were seeing. Like, let's say you're walking by and you see somebody and you're like, oh, that person has an oddly shaped head. You're just going to remember that you remembered that. You're like, well, I can't remember what the head actually looked like, but I do remember thinking, damn, that dude had a weird head. He had a huge head. So typically anything that causes like a little bit of adrenaline or endorphins or anything like that, your memory will correlate with that. Maybe you are holding a hardcover in front of your face. What do you mean a hardcover? This is one of the more evolved PCAs. It has discussion about Richard Allen confessing, him eating paper, has everything. Kim Young, I took screenshots of some of the search footage. There was one point where I see a guy in boots pull someone by the hair who was sitting up against a tree and then let go. What? Are you talking about on the RTV6 footage? So who do you think's taller? Richard Allen or who's that comedian? The short guy, the black guy. Not Cat Williams. And how are 3 teenage girls gonna like they're short too. They're not gonna have a reference there. So we want to poke holes. We don't want to touch the paper. We want to see if we can poke a hole in this thing. I haven't seen one hole yet. If he deceased the girls, why would he take the time to smoke a cigarette? Why wouldn't he just leave? What do you mean smoke a cigarette? We're not saying he smoked a cigarette before. We're saying he was smoking a cigarette on the bridge. That's why Betsy Blair was able to see him and didn't state that he had anything covering his face because he was smoking a cigarette. So he would be smoking a cigarette prior or during the kidnapping. Like, I'm assuming right as he's walking towards them, and you can even see him spit something out of his mouth in that video. That's probably what he's spitting out. He's spitting out that cigarette, and he's not over the water at that point. So he probably spit it out and it landed. If he tried to sexually assault them down the hill right there under the bridge, that would be kind of close where his cigarette would be. Because he definitely has it in his mouth on the bridge before he's, while he's saying guys down the hill or just before. Well, yeah, sees through. If he says he saw the girls, and that means that he was there. He would have been the only person, really. That would have made him look too guilty. He can't say that. Because remember, if Richard Allen's a guilty person, nobody has more case info about this crime than he does. Not even law enforcement. So if anybody's going to mold a story, he's going to mold the best one. He has the best understanding of this case. He knows why it happened. He knows exactly when it happened. He knows who was around. He knows what time he left. He knows everything. Nobody knows more than the killer or killers. So I was there, but big deal, because I didn't see anybody. I didn't see those girls. I saw those other girls. Why would he say that? Because they're going to say that they saw him. He's a proactive killer, in my opinion, which means that he most likely pre-planned this. Right? And everybody in Indiana owns a blue coat. But look at that blue coat. That's a specific kind of blue. You know what I mean? And this is 2016, end of year, a month prior to the girls being killed. Would you look at that? Cindy says those cigarettes look like Marlboro Blacks. I don't live in Indiana, so I don't know if those are common there. I am not aware of anyone who smokes those. I think a lot of people smoke those. What's up, Courtney? All right. I guess we're not getting any holes poked today. I tried. If the drawings of the Delphi crime scene are in any way accurate, the sticks, limbs could be versions of crosses. I'll tell you what I see here. I see the majority of the sticks being focused on the actual wound to the victim, right? You have all of these sticks crossing or intersecting right here where the wound is. Now, there was most likely some movement, over time, even if it's just subtle, right? And then also, same thing over here with Libby. You have the large stick near the wound to the neck. You have another piece crossing right there, which was most likely at one point covering this area. So that's what I'm seeing. Covering the wound. And maybe that's what they meant by he has 1 ounce of conscience left. Like he couldn't look at it anymore. He's like, I don't want anybody to see it. I don't want them to see the sexual assault. So I'm going to redress them. But was interrupted, right? Halfway. Was able to redress one of the girls. Most likely cleaned and scrubbed all the clothing off in the water. What are you doing for over an hour? That's what he's doing. He's trying to get rid of the DNA. Shit, I wonder if the DNA came from the cigarette. Because if it's not in the water, that means you might have a good sample. I always assumed they found it in the water. But now I don't think that. Sleuth intuition, you can still smoke then? What do you mean, still smoke? I don't smoke cigarettes. Never have. Something I would notice, but not 50 feet away. Yeah, that's a really good point. But that's also a hole that you can poke into it. But I think what the defense is trying to say is that Betsy saw a young person with nothing covering their face, nothing covering their head. So I don't know if she's going to be a very good witness. Unless she's able to do what the other witnesses did and say, well, regardless of how I'm describing this person, I can tell you with 100% certainty that that's the same person that's in Libby's video. That's why it's important to have that video. They have a cross-reference. And Richard Allen does match that description, in my opinion. Anna says if Abby was positioned like a tarot card, which I don't think she was, the leg position, create a version. Yeah, that's too much. If somebody's going to go through that much effort to leave something like that, they're going to make it more legible. Same goes with the runes. Yep. I agree with that, Lala. So the younger person might simply be coming from his stature. You know, word association, things like that. There you go, Kevin Hart. So Kevin Hart is 3 inches shorter than me. So I don't know if I personally would be like, oh, that's the shortest person I've ever seen. I think a dwarf would be shorter than that. Unless you're like a basketball player or somebody really tall, like 6'5". But even then, Kevin Hart would be shorter than Richard Allen. So it doesn't make sense for 3 young girls who are short themselves to know exactly, unless he was really tall, right? They would say, well, this guy was much taller than us. Remember, they might not remember what they saw, but they might remember what they told themselves about what they saw. Like walking and they made a comment to themselves like, whoa, that person was really tall. So they might not remember what they look like, but they will remember, oh, I remember thinking, man, he's really tall. So the one thing that they remember is that he wasn't very tall, which is very important. I think it's important information because Richard Allen isn't tall. I don't know, Anna. I don't know what they were doing with the Odinism stuff. I always thought it was Richard Allen's way of slowly trying to confess. It was his way of just kind of weaseling slowly into it. Remember, he's the one that came to his defense team and said, "Oh, Odinist guards are threatening to kill me if I don't do exactly what the gang tells me to do," which is complete bullshit. Welcome in, Suede. What's up, Jerry? Hit the like button, scrubs. So thank you, Farmer and Jerry, sponsoring today's live stream. So we're going to catch up on the chat and we're going to get out of here. Man, I was hoping for some more holes to be poked here. So once again, these are the reasons that you will not see Richard Allen step one foot in that courtroom for a trial. Because of the evidence that they have against him is enough. It's more than enough. Especially along with these confessions. Ooh. Seven years deep into this, still my opinion, I believe there were other people in this. Yeah, I think there's a good chance that there was. That could be the factor that's throwing everything off, right? Well, what about his DNA? That's a good hole. Nobody poked that hole. What about the DNA? Nobody's talking about the DNA. There's no DNA match. Well, remember, it's just important to not be able to exclude somebody as it is to get, a decent match. That's very similar to a fingerprint. It's almost like narrowing it down. Like, we don't know who the killer is, but we know that it's in your it's one of your immediate family members. And if everybody in your immediate family has an alibi but you're screwed. Good to see you, Boston. Christian. I just really can't wait to hopefully we find out what the motive was and why. Any day now. Any day now. Agree, he was covering the wounds. With the sticks? Yeah, I think he was hoping to redress them. That's his way of covering the sexual assault, his embarrassment. But the crime scene does kind of feed into a narrative of a lone wolf with a compulsory. Like he just had this urge and he was overwhelmed by it for whatever reason, and then he murdered them to cover up. And that is something that I believe he confessed to medical staff, is that yes, I did do it for the purposes of sexual assault, and I killed them to keep them from telling on me. That's not what he confessed to his wife. That's what he confessed to medical staff. So who knows? Yeah, trying to cover what he did. Take away some of the shock of it all. When he was done, he was like, what the hell? Like, I'm going to prison forever. Because he probably realized, damn, I'm a sick F right there. But not enough that he turned himself in, that's for sure. Yes, Farmer. Just a thought. Not quite sure. Yeah, not to mention they said they had a partial fingerprint. We didn't hear about that in the probable cause affidavit. So the DNA and this partial fingerprint lead me to believe there's others involved, along with the charges. Kidnapping that led to murder. Okay, well, if he's the bridge guy kidnapping and not being charged with the actual murder, why? Is it because they don't have enough to convict? Or is it because others are involved? Yeah, and I think that made people think about animal because they talked about a science and human element. Revenge for what special? Well, now we're on to appraisals on the bridge. Rabbit holes. Yeah, we're not doing any rabbit holes today. Death penalty won't drop. Yeah, I don't know if you can make a death penalty case for kidnapping that led to murder. Be tough. Think they would have to take life off the table, or I don't know. They're definitely going to make a deal though. Trooper says Anthony Shots proves that there are multiple people involved. If that's connected to Richard Allen, which I think it is through the dark web. But that's just pure speculation on my part. Conjecture. Do not open your door to strangers. Do not. You do not have to open your door to anybody ever. Yeah, don't even answer the door. Don't even say hello. Can I help you? Just go close to the door and cock your gun. That's all you got to do. Take your carrots down the rabbit hole. We're down with the rabbit hole, but not today. All right, guys. I didn't see any real holes poked today. And that, my friends, is why Richard Allen will not go to trial. No holes to be had. Thank you, Carrie. Appreciate that. Jerry, Farmer. Today's sponsors. Thank you, guys. Boston, was he videoing the girls to sell them later, but something happened out there and went terribly wrong? I don't know. I think there's a good chance. Knowing what we know about the dark web and this underground market, that's big business. Richard Allen had a funeral and a wedding he had to pay for, I'm assuming. It's a lot of stress. Yeah, what about the muddy and bloody guy? It's a good point, Caesar. If anyone else was with him that day, the BG was the guy walking 300 North. Would he not get a ride to his car or walk out with the guys with him? I don't know. Maybe the other guys took off. Maybe they took off on foot as well. There's areas near the Wilson Bridge that you can just pull right off the highway or the street. You can just pull right off into the woods. Nobody would even know you're parked right there. So he could have ran out of the cemetery back towards his vehicle, and they could have ran through the woods to a vehicle that was hiding out there somewhere. Yeah, that's true. Let's not forget that Keegan Klein did multiple polygraphs and felt specific sections pertaining to the murders. That is 100% true. I don't believe that he did it, but he knows about it intimately. I don't know about intimately, but I think, we can speculate that he does. I think he's into all that dark web shit. I think he was stalking Abby and Libby, or somebody came to Keegan Klein knowing what he does, what his profession is, which is being a catfish, right? And sextortion. May have even gone to him for the purposes of stalking somebody specifically. Like, hey, I need you. I need to acquire your services. Or they were reaching out to somebody who needed to fill a role, and there was big money involved. We know that there was a Vegas trip. So if you can tie Keegan Klein to this, I mean, and shit fits with that pretty good. The only problem is there's no real connection. There could be one that exists, just not one that we've found yet. So you guys need to get to sleuthing. Yeah, we can assume that, Trooper. I think it does. Don't get me wrong. And I think there's also something with him being considered a confidential informant. I think he might be playing under a different set of rules. Thank you, Witchy Widow. Happy 4th, everyone. Be safe. Yep, the dark web. Some scary shit, too. Yep, your children don't even have to be on social media to be targeted and attempted to be sold on the dark web. The predator just has to know them, know where they're going to be, know their address, know their phone number, and they can sell that information. And some sicko from, let's say, across the world or across the country can pay a predator that's on the dark web for all of that information and then fly across the country to target them. Everything is anonymous. The whole Keegan Klein aspect is much easier to poke holes in because we don't have a whole lot of facts on that. A lot of that speculation and bias, at least it is on my part. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it. Thanks for hanging out. If you have any questions or if you have any comments about what we went over today, or if you think you can poke some holes in the case against Richard Allen, I would love to hear it. I would like to hear it. So I'll see you guys again real soon. And don't forget, members, we have a members meeting today at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I'll see you then. Peace.